Hey guys, how are you? Welcome. It is Jordy from Seven Eagle Group. Today on our live stream, I got a really special guest. I got Bruce Thompson, U.S. Marine Corps vet, spent over 24 years in the Corps as a senior advisor. Um, just an incredible guy who cares deeply about the military community. He's a veteran advocate, lives down in Jacksonville, Florida, and has just spent and dedicated his career to helping his fellow service members. He's a VP over at Vets to Industry, an awesome organization. Also a mentor with Veterati, and also very impressive about this guy. He mentors children who have lost parents, military children. So, got a ton of questions for Bruce, and he's got a lot of information that he's going to share that will hopefully help you with your search, your job search, and help you bring some clarity to this confusing process. So, Bruce, thank you so much for taking some time today to join us.
Oh, no, thanks for allowing me to come on. Uh, Glad to be here and look forward to a good conversation and sharing some information and resources with everyone.
Awesome, awesome. So let's start out. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your time in the Corps and what was that like for you? Why'd you join, and what you got out of that experience?
Oh, the magic question is, why did we join? Uh, for me, it was a escape from a small desert farming community in Southern California. Um, you know, very few options, and I'll date myself by saying, it was uh, the early '90s when I joined, um, and it was the decision of let me do something with my life, not stick around and just kind of waste away a little bit doing uh, the the local search for what was next after high school. Uh, I I served for 23 years and 9 months. I had many military occupation specialties. Uh, the Marine Corps has a saying of grow where planted. Well, I can definitely tell you that I got planted in a lot of different kind of how did I end up here seats. Uh, did well. Loved. I won't say I loved every minute of it, but I loved most of it. Uh, I got out because medical issues decided that I couldn't physically do the things that a Marine needed to do. So with that, it was let me exit before I get medically kicked out. Uh, but it's definitely something that I tell everyone. Military service is a great thing. Uh, for those that don't know what they want to do, it's a great way to get started. Earn some benefits. You know, definitely get some work ethic, and again, it's just a wonderful thing. And I'm the guy that tells you I just had an ordinary military career. We moved 13 times in just under 24 years. I got to spend most of my time on the West Coast. Uh, Planned. Definitely negotiated with the assignment guru and kept getting myself in Southern California. I got to see wonderful parts of the world. You know, Plenty of desert communities, a couple islands. So it's definitely was a great experience. I love what I learned and was taught, and how the Marine Corps grew me. Um, and I tell everybody, if I had a chance to do it again, I'd go right back in and do it. Uh, Maybe try to save my body a little bit better, but probably not. Uh, so that's kind of my military story, and
Yeah.
uh, where I was, what I did, and now I'm uh, in wonderful Jacksonville, Florida, and been here almost 5 years. And I tell you, it is just an awesome place to be. Very military and veteran friendly,
Yeah.
with all those wonderful resources and things that you just dream that you could get.
That's awesome. How did you know that after getting out that you wanted to be so active in the community at helping um, service members transition and helping veterans with their career? Because you've dedicated so much of your life to that. And what drove you to do that?
Well, while in service, it's what we were groomed to do. It's taking care of our personnel, senior, peer, and junior. And when I got out, it took me almost a year to really figure things out.
Hmm.
I transitioned. Used a military headhunting firm. Found me a job day one after my retirement. Um, it it was everything I didn't want to do. It was manufacturing. It was shift work. It's the Groundhog Day where nothing changes. You just come back in and you do the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Um, it had no upward mobility for me. It had no. Uh, I had no passion for it. I wasn't fulfilled. So luckily, I got headhunted from LinkedIn for another position. So I left that first job after 4 weeks. People thought I was insane because um, that money was very good. Benefits were good. But it was the understanding of it wasn't anything I wanted to do. It was making me miserable. And it's a great part of not being on a contract. You can get
Yeah.
up and walk away.
Yeah.
I did. The second position was working on 2 Navy contracts. So we worked on those for 9 months. Magically, it was a unwelcome Christmas present of, hey, you didn't get either of them. So poof, that contingent offer was gone. I sat around and didn't really do anything for about 6 weeks. Me and the wife had a great conversation, and it was, hey, we're good. Go find something you have a passion for, and
Hmm.
don't worry about how much it's paying. And with that, um, I applied for a role as a Department of Labor 3-day employment workshop facilitator. Um, I got that role. By the way, that is the only role that I have submitted my resume and application uh, for. Everything else, I've gotten through networking and referrals.
That's great.
But this one, I, I got it through the regular application process. I got that job, and I did it for 2.5 years, and it was, I just love going to work. I got to teach people their transition path, help them really figure out what they wanted to do, understand so many of the must do's, and my emotional fuel tank was just maxed out.
Yeah.
I love what I did, and since then, I actually left that position so I could do more veteran advocacy here in the
Yeah.
community. Uh, and again, it is just amazing when you figure out what your true passion is, and you're able to go out and do it. It's a wow feeling. I love it. It's just so amazing to be able to continue to pay it forward, give back to uh, the community, help veterans, military spouses, transitioning service members. Uh, Again, just a wonderful thing, and I'm glad I found it and have definitely followed my passion.
That's great, man. I love that story. Good stuff. All right, let's jump into it. So we're going to ask you to share your feedback, your favorite ideas, your tips, 7 different topics. All right. The
All
first
right.
one you touched on already a little bit, but elaborate a little more on why this is so important for a transitioning service member, maybe somebody who's out and frustrated like you were at your manufacturing job, to head down a path that's right for them.
Yeah. This is probably the question I get from 80% of those I work with and mentor is, I don't know what I want to do next. It it's a real thing. I mean, we've been in service for 2 to 40 years. Um, we picked something when we were 17, 18, 21, 22, and we just what we did. Now we get out, and all of a sudden people are like, you have options to do whatever you want to do, and it's like, what? What do you mean? And again, like I said, I had that false start doing something I didn't want to do. Um, I was able to step away and actually find that. But you don't want to just be miserable every day when you go out and go to work. So you want to have something that you have some pleasure, some enjoyment. And the way to do that is figuring out what you really do. So uh, in the Franklin Covey, I'm sorry, not Franklin Covey, but uh, What Color is Your Parachute? There's a wonderful flower exercise in there. You can Google flower exercise, you'll have it pop up. But it talks about figuring out what are your passions, your preferences, and what are your skills, and it'll put those together, and it'll give you a really great idea of where you should be. There's also interest profilers out there, and I tell you, when you take those, be brutally honest with yourself. Don't try to act like someone's looking at this. Be brutally honest about what you like, don't like, and it's going to give you a great idea of hopefully 3 to 5 professions that you have a interest in, and from that interest, you'll be able to kind of come out and say, okay, well, I think this is the one that I really want to pursue. And once you narrow that down, and it clears out all the other noise that surrounds you, you can really focus on being great, getting yourself into the right organization, position, and there's nothing like loving going to work and what you do day in, day out.
Yeah.
So understanding that is so incredible. And I tell a lot of people, until you figure out what you want to do, it's hard to get started.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. And Jared Smith added in the chat that who do you want to be now, which is good. Like you said, it's like just because you did something in the military doesn't mean you automatically have to do that in the real world, in the civilian world. I'm sorry, because you're so much more than that. The skills, the foundation, all those character traits you've developed really apply to so many different career paths. So good. Awesome. All right. Next one. Networking. You are a master networker. There is no doubt about that. That's how you and I connected. And I know you have, if I'm right, over 22,000 followers on LinkedIn. So, and I'm sure you're on a first name basis with all those people. But talk a little bit about how somebody can network their way to a great career.
First, I tell everybody, if you're not networking, what are you doing? You'll hear it. Your network equals your net worth. And I mentioned earlier, every job I've had, except for the Department of Labor position, I found either by being headhunted off of LinkedIn or someone referred me to that position. We don't know what we don't know, but there are so many awesome people out there. And, a great part about COVID was it really pushed everything kind of virtual. So there were no boundaries left. I'm here in Jacksonville, Florida, and prior the COVID and everything going virtual, I probably wouldn't have talked to a lot of people, Northeast, North Central, or up in the Northwest. They just weren't places that I had any kind of connection to. Now, that's not a problem. We hop on a networking event. We do some things, whether that's the Vets Industry events, the 50 Strong, the Key Network, LinkedIn Mill City, Veterans Beer Clubs, you name it. There's so many great things out there that we hop on, and we're meeting people, and you never know who that individual is that's going to open a door for you.
Yeah.
So I tell everybody, you got to have a LinkedIn account. You got to make sure your profile is optimized. Lego Man Eddie Cervantes has an incredible article out there about how to optimize your profile. I recommend people go out and check that out. And again, there are so many great individuals out there, and I'm just looking over here in the chat, and I can tell you that we got this incredible person there, Dr. Destiny Pratt. She was one of the first people that mentored me when I got out and didn't know what I wanted to do. So get out there, talk to people, have these conversations. You're going to be wowed when you find out how many people are out there ready, willing to assist you in figuring out what's next for you.
Yeah. And it's not, networking is not a comfortable thing for a lot of people. Talk about how to get over that awkwardness and just do it, not be scared to reach out and put yourself in some, situations you're probably not used to.
Well, the easiest way to do it is just to get out there and do it. Go to an event, talk to a handful of people, hop on one of the virtual events, and there's some where they're webinars where you get to listen, but in the chat, it's like a whole networking event going on. So that's where you can type instead of actually having me face to face. But there are so many ways to do it. But the easiest thing is go to an event, walk up to somebody, shake their hand, give them the fist bump, whatever you're comfortable doing, but have a quick conversation with them. It's easier once you get started. And again, while we're in service, we network all the time. We just don't call it networking. We all know who's the go-to person for administration, for getting a part, for anything you want to do. There's I'm going to call so and so. I never knew what it was, but I was one of those. Hey, if you needed something back to get a part or something of that nature, I was that guy back in Twin and Palms in the early '90s. So as we realized that we're doing it automatically, and I tell anybody, if you're part of the NCO network, the Chiefs Mess, you name all the different groups that we're part of, those are networking. So you're doing it already. Don't be afraid. Break the ice. Go to a career fair and walk around and talk to different individuals, and you're there. And nowadays, making connections on LinkedIn, you see someone that is doing something you want to do, someone that has a similar interest, reach out, do the connection request, send a personalized note. Very, very important. Let the person you're reaching out to know why you're reaching out to them. And with that one, once it's accepted, don't just say, "Oh, great, we're connected." No, follow it up with messages to start a conversation. Because if you're not having conversations and growing that relationship, it's just a number. You got to make sure you're out there making connections, and developing those. Because again, we never know who the individual we're going to talk to that is going to let's blow open the doors. So definitely, make sure you're having those conversations, and you never know, when someone's going to come to you and say, "Man, I love what you're doing. Let's have a conversation," and that conversation could lead to an employment.
Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. And Mike Murphy on the chat mentioned a woman named Kate Payne, the Honor Foundation, who also has some really good content on LinkedIn as well. All right, next one. Talk about this SkillBridge internship program. I just love this this initiative that the DoD does. I think it's truly amazing. And talk about your experience with it, what you like about it, what you don't like about it.
So I'll tell you, I think the SkillBridge program is probably the best thing, a benefit opportunity that's been put out there since the post 9/11 GI Bill. I tell everybody, if you get the opportunity, do your SkillBridge. It's such a great opportunity to, one, get some non-military experience onto your resume, onto your LinkedIn profile. It gives you that, instead of ripping off the Band-Aid and kind of walking into the unknown when you're, a veteran, you get to do this before you get out. So you might, like my case with my first position, it might give you the opportunity to go out there and understand that, hey, that's not what I wanted to do. So definitely get that experience. You're networking, you're finding people that work there. Again, if you do a great job, there's a high probability of being hired by that organization. And just because they offer doesn't mean you have to stay there, but it's a great opportunity to, build that confidence, get that understanding of what it's like outside the uniform. And I tell you, 50 Strong does an incredible job at having webinars, if not weekly, bi-weekly, and they bring a lot of different SkillBridge partners in to have these conversations. Again, it's a networking event, not only in the live feed, but in the chat room. The thing that I just truly am frustrated by with the SkillBridge program is commands not allowing their service members to attend. This is one of those, there's still not enough senior leaders that understand SkillBridge or even know that it's a thing. And some branches are better than others, but it's the not understanding what's out there and available because they're not in their transition process. So a lot of times, I can't lose somebody. Again, if they got injured and couldn't go to work, you're going to figure it out. Work will still get done. So denying people this opportunity is, it's just not taking care of your service member, and that's a big no-no. I mean, that's one of the very first things that we're taught is, mission accomplishment and troop welfare. So that's the thing I'm frustrated with the SkillBridge, and it's not SkillBridge, it's the commands that refuse to understand that people are transitioning, and we don't want people to have a hard transition. If we can make the transition process smoother, we can really work on reducing homeless veterans. We can reduce homeless suicide, because it is a very stressful process to transition. And so if we do it right and use the programs that are available to us, we can really make that larger impact. And I think that's something that definitely needs to be talked about on a regular basis.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, just in my 8 years of working at 7 Eagle Group, we've been doing SkillBridge for the last 6 months, and 100% of the service members who we put into companies for this have been hired full time. And think about that. It's like, holy crap. It's like we cannot get anywhere near close to that response when you're working with veterans. There's something about making it really easy for those companies to offer full-time positions. And the way to do that is by letting them sort of test drive a candidate for 6 months. So I'm a huge fan of this program.
And real quick, I want to throw it out there. Jared Smith posted, Marine Corps Colonel a few years ago, transition isn't our mission. Oh my God. I have heard this way too many times. It's a chance of service members, leadership, not understanding what's going on, not understanding the process. But I will tell you, when it becomes their turn, their time, they're going to take advantage of these programs that they denied their service members. And
Yeah.
that's short-sightedness. That's individuals just not understanding. Um, Troop welfare goes all the way through. It's not one of those ones that, oh, you're getting out, so now I'm going to use and abuse you to the second you pick up your DD 214 and walk away. We have to stop that. We have to make sure that people are being educated on what's out there. We got to make sure we're taking care of our transitioning service members, our veterans, their families. We talk about taking care of our people until it's their time to leave. Then it's like, oh well, once they take off a uniform, I don't care. And that is a horrible thought process. It's a horrible way to look at things. So, Jared, thanks for posting that one, because I've heard that, from all the different branches, except the Space Force, because they're not really out there ready to kick people out the door yet. But it's a horrible way for people to think, and we have to change the narrative.
I think the best way we can do that is just highlight these success stories that we're having. There are like 1,900 service providers out there who are experiencing this program, and to share these success stories. I was talking with Kathy Miklat from Vets 2 PM, another provider, and I think she's had 50 people convert to full-time positions, in the last few months, which is it's an amazing thing. Something we should all be really proud of. And I think when hopefully these commanding officers see these incredible success stories, they'll get more on board with the program. Next section, resume. What are your thoughts? What are your favorite tips, pitfalls? What do you see in candidates that you can help fix?
So this again comes back down to a lack of experience. Again, most of us have never written a resume in our lives. When it's time to transition, we focus on the we, not the I. So it makes it really hard to pull out those things that for us to brag about ourselves. It's something that is not normal for a service member. We talk about the team. As a leader, we talk if things are successful, it's because of the team. If something goes wrong, then that's our fault. And so go back out here and start saying, hey, I did this and I did that. It's a weird concept for majority of us. I'll tell you, I'm a big fan of Veterans Ascend, because they don't use resumes. They match people based off of skill sets. But everybody needs that resume. You need something that's there. You need the master resume. As you're figuring out what it is you want to do post-service, it might be, 3 or 4 different things. You need to have 3 or 4, resumes that are kind of 80% there. And then when you actually figure that job and that organization, then you're going to use that 80% resume to convert that to a targeted resume. So you're speaking the languages, you're talking the skills. And yes, there are organizations out there that will help you write your resume. But understand, if you don't know what you want to do, you do not have a job vacancy announcement from an organization, you can't really write that resume that you're going to submit. Go to your services transition office, take the classes, take the resume workshops. Once you get done with the resume workshop, sit down, make an appointment with one-on-one. You've got Hiring Our Heroes. You've got, of course I blank out. But you got Still Serving Veterans, Hire Heroes USA.
You'll find tons of them. Yeah.
You've got all these organizations that this is what they do. I'll tell you, hop on Veterati. When you're talking to a mentor, they'll talk to you about a resume. Most of us will probably send you a version of our resume, or at least a resume template to use. which is always a good thing because people don't really know where to start. So having a template to go off of that, oh, this is how they had. And again, figuring out which bullets, which accomplishments that you have match up with the position that you're applying for. A lot of us, we've got these great, bullets that we've done, but if they don't apply to the position, they don't belong on your resume. And that's another hard thing for people to understand. This is not something you're going to sit down, knock out in an hour, and it's going to be great. There is no perfect resume. So making sure that you're constantly updating, that you're looking for improvement. As you gain experiences, you're adding those to your master resume so it's easy to pull. But make sure that you are reaching out and finding others that are going to assist you.
Right. Great advice. And I know it's a pain in the ass to do these resumes, especially when each company asks for, you want to tailor that resume to each company's position. So it's a pain in the neck. I wish they'd go away, but unfortunately they're still here, and hiring managers are going to require them.
Yep.
All right. Interviewing. Now that resume gets you into the interview. Now what?
All right. So interviewing, I'll tell you, this is one of those ones you can use your network to get through the by name referral, which is going to probably give you an 85-90% chance of landing an interview. No one can go and do the interview for you. You have to understand common questions. You have to go and do some mock interviews, have people practice with you. You've got LinkedIn. It's got a interviewing program that is great. Candorful, a few others. A lot of transition programs will do it. Again, you can set up a call with a mentor and let them know, hey, I'd like to go through a mock interview with you. There's nothing like firsthand experience going through, failing, stumbling through. It's how we learn. I'll tell you, my very first interview ever, I knocked it out of the park. I was confident. I went into my second interview because I was at a hiring event with a military headhunting firm. And the second interview, I walked in, head in the clouds, like, I got this, no big deal. Oh, my goodness. Was that a complete failure? So sometimes, everything's going to click for you. And other times it's just going to be a train wreck. This is why we have to practice some more. Talk to different individuals to do mock interviews, because there are different types of interviews out there. One of the things I'll tell you is you have to understand the bill vacancy, understand what they're really asking for. You need to understand the company's culture, some of the wording that the company uses. And most importantly, if you ask them to write your resume, you need to know what's on that resume, because you're going to be asked questions based on, oh, I see here that you said blah, blah, blah. Make sure you have that done. Practice the common questions. Pick out 4 or 5 different stories that correspond to a time when you had success, a time when you didn't have success. Talk to us about a difficult employee or supervisor you had to do. These are constant questions. And remember, when you're interviewing, I don't care if your last boss was the worst person on earth. I don't care if you completely despised your last company. We don't say those things. We keep it positive. We keep it upbeat, because if you're showing negativity in the interview, they're going to be like, okay, this person is going to bring negativity to the workspace. And if they show up and they leave, what are they going to say about us? And brand reputation is very important. When you interview, your brand's on the line. People are going to understand who you are. And if you don't think that the HR folks talk to one another, you're wrong. They talk to each other constantly. They will put a reputation out there based on how they interacted with you. So make sure that you're always putting things in a positive perspective. And I guess can't say it enough. You
Yeah.
have to practice, practice, practice. I don't care if you think you've got this and there's no problems. You never know when someone's going to ask you that question that's going to trip you up. And that's why we practice constantly. So find a friend that does HR that's been in the recruiting space that does interviews, and have them run you through a few mock interviews. They'll tell you, hey, your body motion was all over the place and you're going crazy. They'll tell you, hey, this isn't a military promotion board where you come in and slam the door, march in, snap the heels together, sit, left hand, left knee, right knee, and pick a point on the wall and stare at it. No, these are people wanting to figure out, one, are you the right individual for the position? Two, do I want to work with you? Are you someone that I'm going to be frustrated having to deal with day in, day out? If so, you're probably not going to get that position, especially if you have to work in a team environment. And I don't care what they say, everybody has to work in a team environment because no one is on an island all by themselves. Right. There's always interaction that has to be done. So practice some more. When you're not in your transition space, go out and have some, some practice interviews, and definitely help those kind of figure out who you are, what you want to do. Again, practice, practice, practice. No one's ever going to be perfect, but you want to be as prepared as possible for the questions that are meant to throw you off. So be ready to knock out everything that's the kind of the normal interview process, so you're more alert and knowledgeable about how to react when they ask you that weird question or two.
Yeah, and it all ties back to what you were saying earlier about picking that right career path for you, right? If you pick the right career path, you're going to be more passionate about it, more excited. Your interview is going to be 100 times better than if you're just interviewing for some random job that you're trying to, you applied to because of the salary or something. So
yeah, and I'll tell you, Leslie posted a comment in regards to the time I interviewed her. Yes, it was not the best interview for her, but I saw something, and even though it wasn't a great interview, I saw something, and it just gave me that, let's give her one more chance, and let's give her the second interview in the process. And she came in with that second interview, and it was a 180. I mean, she was hitting home runs with every question. You just saw it. And sometimes you're going to have a bad interview, but the impression you leave with how you handle it, your presence, people are going to be able to see that. And sometimes you'll get a second chance. Not always, but sometimes you're there. And that's things that you have to understand is, even if you don't get the position you're interviewing for, there are more positions in that company. The people that interview you have connections. And if you leave a positive influence, you might say, hey, we went with a different person, but we have this role, or, I think you should contact my friend over at blah, 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 and get there. So definitely take advantage of that.
I also love Leslie Coffey's attitude too, which is like, she's sort of laughing about it, like it was funny, and she's making fun of herself a little bit, but that's being human. And like, we can relate to that, as opposed to the typical response, which is, oh, that fucking interviewer, he didn't know what he was doing. I was right for that job, So,
yeah, and it's the, if you have a bad interview, a bad experience, fine, burn out some of that frustration for the next hour or two and get over it. It happened. No one's perfect. I'll tell you, I failed big time. And like we say, we learn from failure. Go through, process it, and then get yourself ready for the next step in the process.
Good. Awesome. Good one. All right. Next, you've got that job. Now what? Don't be complacent sitting there and getting to work, you got to now constantly think about your career and how do you keep climbing that ladder. So, what are some things that people can do after they've landed the position?
Well, I tell you, once you've landed that position, you have to become that sponge and soak up all the knowledge and have conversations with those that you're working with. You can't just kind of go out there and say, "Hey, I got the job, great," and then I'm just going to wing it. No, you're brand new in a position with a brand new organization. You have to ask the questions, talking to your teammates, making sure that you have regular conversations with your supervisor for that first 30, 60, 90 days is very important to get you started on the right track. As they say, first impressions last a lifetime. So you have to become that subject matter expert at what your role is, the reports that are due, the processes, and how things work. You have to go out there and do this. And I will tell you, just because you had your first position doesn't mean you're done. This is not where you sign a contract and you're with that company for the next 30, 40 years. Employment right now is at will, largely at will, which means they can tell you thanks, go home, without a reason at any time. You can do the same. So what you need to be doing is being the best employee you can for that organization. Just be that subject matter expert, but continue to upskill. Continue to make sure that you're networking, you're finding those right connections. You never know when you're going to talk to somebody and that next great opportunity is not with the organization that you are currently working for. So continue to do the things to make you the most competitive, complete candidate, and that's going to open doors for you. And having conversation after conversation. Again, unlike the military, we don't stay at the same organization. In order to get promoted, you might have to go to another organization. It's okay. This is how it's done. You don't stay at the same company for 20, 30, 40 years. Those are things that our grandparents did, but times have changed.
Right.
So it's not stay at the place for 40 years, get the gold watch, and get your pension and everything else. Now it's make sure you got a great employer match 401k plan that you keep rolling over from position to position. But keep listening to the veteran advocates. Join the Act Now education on LinkedIn, Facebook. Go to all these different veteran advocates, veteran organizations that have access to free training, whether that's certification, whether that's continuing your education, whether it's just learning something new and different. Keep learning. Make sure that you're always putting that best foot forward. Have conversations where you're not closed off. You have to look at the bigger picture, and if something was to happen and that company quickly had to downsize, or that company made a huge mistake and they're gone tomorrow, what are you going to do? Are you going to wait 6 to 12 months to find that position? Or are you going to be able to call up to your network and say, hey, I just had horrible news. We got laid off. What do I do? And if you're networking right and you have these upskills, it's going to be a smoother transition for you. So you have to make sure that you're doing things of that nature.
Yeah. No, that's great. Just take it upon yourself. Own your career.
Yeah.
Build your skills, and you'll have job security the rest of your life if you be that subject matter expert, like you said, and never stop learning, never stop networking. You don't have to worry about if you get fired, you'll get another job in a few minutes. So don't.
And that's what a huge thing is, so very important for people to understand. Your transition is on you. We have plenty of individuals and organizations out here that are willing to assist you. But if you don't take it seriously, if you don't take the ownership, it's going to be hard for you to succeed. Because again, none of us can interview for the job for you. Right. None of us are going to be there working and doing that work. You have to go out there and do that. Be the owner of your transition process. Represent yourself. It's such important for people to understand, because I've had conversations with those that wanted someone to do it for them. Yeah. that's not how transition works. Whether that's transitioning directly from a service, transitioning from one organization to the next in your post-military career, you have to make sure that you are taking ownership of that.
Yeah, good advice. All right. Last one. Talk about why it's so important when you're having success, when you've gotten hired, to reach back to those behind you and lend a hand.
I'll tell you, I told you it took me almost a year to figure out who I was, what I wanted to do post-service. Luckily, I'm a retiree with a high VA disability rating, a spouse that works, and part of our transition retirement plan was we had to be debt-free, kid-free before we did it. So I set up the financial security that I could go through and not worry about the paycheck. Mm-hmm. Let's be honest, most people are not in position that they're able to do that. So with them not being able to do that, what you need to go out and figure is, how can we be of assistance? How can we, again, reduce the number of homeless veterans, reduce the number of veteran suicide? How can we make service members get out and feel that brotherly love, that sisterly love that we have while we're in service, that camaraderie? And that's a huge part of what we lose. And a lot of people have hard times regaining that. So if we show everybody that, one, transition is not a solo event. There are so many people out there that are going to help you with it. All you have to do is ask, and you'll be amazed by what the veterans helping veterans really is. And we got Alex on here. Alex has been volunteering with Vets to Industry for almost the beginning of it. He's still in active duty. He gets it, and he got it early. So there's plenty of people that are out there, and it's beating to our heads while we're in service. We take care of one another. And again, just because you got your DD-214 doesn't mean you're done with that. It just means now you get to pay it forward in a different manner. You get to figure out how you can assist, after taking the uniform off. And that could be, hey, I'm going to make sure that my organization has a military veteran, military spouse hiring program. We're going to have that employee resource group that we talk about these things. We're going to build a skill bridge program. Mm-hmm. It could be your own Veterati or American Corporate Partners as a mentor, giving great advice and helping connect people. I don't want to talk about LinkedIn influencers because I don't think that's really a thing. I just think there's a ton of us out there that want to pay it forward, and just doing what we do and understanding that none of us are the expert on everything. There's just no way. Right. But where we have that expertise, where we've had those lessons learned, sharing those and being able to help those that are transitioning avoid the roadblocks, the hiccups that we went through. Hey, learn from my failures. Those are important things to do. And again, just because you take off the uniform doesn't mean that your time is done. As the Marine Corps, we always say, once a Marine, always a Marine. So we continue to pay it forward, and you'll just find that there's so many people out there that just want to be of assistance. All you got to do is reach out, and you're going to find a few thousand of us, and that can be overwhelming. But have a conversation with one or two, see where that leads, and take it from there.
And don't be intimidated to reach out to civilians too. They'll help. Help. They're desperate to help people. They really want to help the service members and the veterans. So,
yeah, it's one of those ones that a lot of people that have never served look for ways to give back.
Yeah, so 100%.
Whether that's as a mentor, whether that's as the talent acquisition, someone who just networks a lot and can refer people for positions, it's there. And again, if you look at the percentage of service members, veterans, compared to everyone else, that's a big group that you're discounting if you're not talking to others that are beyond the uniform that haven't served. And again, as you're going back out there and looking for, ways to succeed, have conversations. I cannot tell you how much I believe in mentorship. Everybody needs a mentor. As I say, I mentor for quite a few, but Dr. Pratt has been my mentor for. It's been years since we had that first conversation, and we're constantly, texting, calling, messaging on LinkedIn. It's just, you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Don't try to fake it. Ask the questions. Find the right resources, individuals for you, and it won't be as scary if you're having these things, because you have so many people enlightening you about do's and don'ts and best ways to do it, connecting you with great individuals. You just got to put yourself out there, and like I said, just ask for some assistance. You'll be amazed that once you ask for some assistance and have a call with somebody, how much you're going to walk away from with, like, oh my God, like, I've got homework now that's going to last me a couple of weeks.
Nah, that's great. That is awesome. That is all, Bruce. I can't thank you enough, man. You knocked it out of the park today and provided such incredible information. Thank you guys all for watching this either live or on the playback. We have a talent network here at Seven Eagle Group. I encourage you to join. That'll get you on the radar of the 25 recruiting managers here at Seven Eagle Group. We share that your profiles with any of the other SkillBridge service providers out there, because our goal is to help you get matched with a great opportunity. We have some tons of content on our social pages, so please join that. If you ever want to chat about your specific situation with me, I'm always available to do that. And there's my link, and I know Bruce would his door is always open as well to anybody who needs help. So thank you guys so much, Bruce. Appreciate it, buddy. You're a good man, and the community, I know, is much better off to have you in it, and you're doing some incredible work that's truly changing lives. So thanks again. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to come on, share some knowledge, have a great conversation. And like you said, I'm not hard to find. Reach out. Let's get connected. Let's have a conversation.
Terrific.